Thank you very much, and thanks to Wired for having us. It's really, really great to be here, not just because we missed a day off school yesterday. Right, so there's this phrase. Is this working? Yes, there is. There's this phrase that says, "From tiny acorns, mighty oaks may grow." And I'm sure you've all heard it at some stage in your lives. But basically, it just means that even the biggest of discoveries begin with a little spark. And even the biggest of successes need time to grow. So what we're going to talk to you today is about how one such little acorn of an idea grew into something which changed our lives forever.
So as said earlier, this is Ciara and I'm Emer. If you forget them, it's Shakira without the sh, and then Lemur without the l. So that's our names. I guess to start off, I'll have to bring you back 4 years. So our whole story began when I was gardening with my mom. We're actually not seasoned gardeners at all, and we just happened to be growing peas for some random reason. And we pulled them up, and we found there was these ugly wart-like rooty things on them. Now, I didn't know what they were. I just thought it was a disease or something. And it started a conversation between me, Ciara, and our former teammate, Sophie. And we were wondering what this was. So then, doing a bit of research, we found out that a bacteria called Rhizobium lives within these nodules. At the same time as well in geography, we were learning about food security and about the shortages of food in the world. So we were pretty ambitious. We decided that because of this bacteria we had just found out about, we were going to try and basically solve world hunger. So that was what we wanted to do at 14.
So we didn't have access to a lab or anything fancy, so we began by creating our own homemade lab in my spare bedroom at home. So my mom very generously gave over our whole guest room and just said, okay, do with it what you will as long as you put it back. We did put it back 4 years later. So, you know, we kept our promise. She didn't give a time limit. So we started by building all of the equipment that we needed. We built incubators, shaker tables, bioreactors. There was nothing really that we didn't make ourselves. And it was all with, you know, old scraps of wood that we found lying in my attic or toys that we weren't using anymore. We also had to go out and learn a lot about working with bacteria that we hadn't covered in school yet. So we were exposed to a new side of science that we had never seen before, one that was outside the textbook.
And the experiments themselves involved, we'd get trays and we'd lay out seeds all individually, and then we'd have to get a pipette and put an exact amount of bacteria solution on them. But the fun part was that every 6 hours we then had to look at these seeds and inspect each one individually for like a tiny little root. So we had to do this 6 hours, so that meant we might look at over 1,000 seeds at 12 o'clock at night, which if we were lucky would take 2 hours. And then get back up again at 6 a.m. to do it all over again for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
During our summer holidays as well, because we were that committed. Anyway, so after we had experimented on more than 10,000 seeds, yes, more than 10,000 seeds, we analysed our results and we found that we had actually managed to increase the speed of germination by 50% of barley and increase the crop productivity by up to 74%. So obviously, this has quite large implications for the food crisis, and we were absolutely over the moon. It made all of the work that we had put in worth it, particularly the late nights and the arguments and the tears of like anger and frustration that we cried when at 2 o'clock in the morning we would be getting just to the end of the reading and someone would drop a tray and there would be seeds everywhere and we'd have to start the experiment all over again. So those were not good nights.
I would go so far to saying that Ciara's concussion that she got because of the tiredness after falling was definitely worth it as well when we saw the results.
Yeah, I had been up until 2 o'clock that night and then I had an event the next morning and I got so tired that I was in the middle of a round of show jumping and I just fell off. Like I literally just blacked out and got concussion. But it was good, it got me off the readings for the next 3 days and the girls had to pick up on it.
So we looked at, Yeah, like I said, it was worth it because we definitely reaped the seeds we had sown. I had to put in at least one pun. With this project, we won our national science competition called the BT Young Scientist. And I think this is to thank for what happened next. It was because of this competition that we went on to represent Ireland in the European Union contest for young scientists. So at this competition, we were competing against mainly university students from all over Europe. And I think they were as surprised as us when we took first place, because we were the small Irish girls who everyone was wondering why we were here.
Yeah. So, 3 was our lucky number throughout the whole course of the project. There were 3 of us. It lasted 3 years. We ended up going in 3 competitions. So the third competition, and we decided to try our luck one more time, so we decided to go for the Google Science Fair. And we threw in an application. We didn't think anything would come of it. And then in August of last year, we got a call to say that we were in the final 15. So it meant that we got to go to compete for the top prize at Google's headquarters in Mountain View in San Francisco last September. And we came away with top prize, which was it was astounding. We didn't see it coming. We thought that everyone else's projects were way better than ours, so we just kind of went for fun, for the trip, for the free trip to Google and all the free food. That's behind a lot of what, that's our motivation all the time, it's free food. But anyway, and then to top it all off, which just seemed absolutely insane, really, Time magazine named us as being among the 25 most influential teenagers in the world. So that came as quite a shock, especially because we were listed among some really inspirational people, such as Malala Yousafzai, who is a really big role model for us as girls who are passionate about education. And there were some big names as well, like Kylie and Kendall Jenner, but we'll take them or leave them. Malala was a bit more impressive for us. So then we were looking to the future, and Emer and I realized that what we were interested in was what was happening inside the seeds, the kind of biochemical mechanisms. And I know that's not the ordinary conversation that 2 16-year-olds would be having with each other, but we did it anyway. And we realized that what we wanted to look at was to find out what was happening and why we were seeing this effect. So we decided to set up our own company called Germinate Innovations, and that's how we were going to structure our research going forward. And then, thanks to the help of the STEMETS organization, which is a really good organization for females in STEM, we were actually able to launch Germinate in Salesforce headquarters here in London last April in the presence of Her Royal Highness Princess Anne, which was an absolutely huge honor.
So I'm going to start by debunking one myth. People think you have to be some sort of genius to carry out a project like this. You don't. We are far from that. We are not near that at all. Ours, quite simply, was a mixture of hard work, passion, and honestly a lot of luck. We happened to find out about a bacteria out of all the millions of bacteria, and then happened to put it on crops that it would work on. It was luck. And what we discovered while doing this 3-year-long project is that it's actually easy in many ways to carry out anything really once you're passionate about it. But it doesn't come without its many, many difficulties.
Okay, so first of all, working as part of a team isn't always easy. Okay, you go on Google Images and type in the word teamwork, and all you get are stock photos of groups of really happy people. Maybe they're sitting around a table, but occasionally they're sitting around a tower of spaghetti and marshmallow, which I can't explain that, but anyway. But what you don't realize is those smells are very, very creepy, and I think they're that way because they're covering up all the arguments. You have to expect, if you're going to be working in a team, little fights and debates and discussions, but that didn't make it all worth it in the end. We would fight over things like what color to design our posters, but we were there for each other when it actually mattered most.
And when it came to planning experiments, it was actually so much better that we were part of a team, because we would debate and we would argue over how many seeds to test and what concentration, that in the end we actually always came to the most logical decision. So although it was hard at times, we were always there for each other when it mattered the most. Now, 10,000 seeds sounds like a lot. And it is when you consider the fact that we looked at them over 120,000 times. They're not that fun to look at. And another thing we realized is that it's really easy to do something like this if you break it down into steps. So instead of looking too far into the future, we would simply work in the day, do an experiment, analyze the results, and then see where it goes from there.
Yeah, so that's something that we'd advise to everyone here. If you're thinking of starting a project or an organization or even a business, don't get overwhelmed by the mountain of work that'll be ahead of you, because there will be a mountain of work ahead of you. We're not going to lie to you, but just break it down step by step and break it down into stages. It's completely okay to keep an eye on the prize, to keep an eye on your dream or your goal. But just remember that it takes hundreds of nights to become an overnight success. Now, we also found that when we started this project at the age of 14, I keep saying 15, but it was 14, that we had a lot of people doubting us and telling us that our ideas wouldn't work, which quite frankly I don't get, because who wouldn't trust those faces? I mean, we are obviously the faces of wisdom right there. But we just ignored those people and we did it anyway. If anything, we actually wanted to prove them wrong. You see, we live in a world with a lot of negativity, and we just wanted to have one spark of positivity there, And we just took the attitude that even if we did this project, and even if it didn't work, at least then we would know for sure, and the rest of the world would know for sure. We would have proved something, even if it wasn't exactly what we set out to prove. We would have done our bit, and we would have contributed to the knowledge base of the world. And no matter what anyone tells you, that's something to be proud of.
And in saying this as well, there is so many people out there who want to support you, and it's just a matter of finding them, which in fact isn't hard to do. So we were lucky to come from a school that was really supportive and have really supportive friends and families. But there was obviously time that these people around us couldn't answer the questions that we needed. So we would just search online for scientists or professors who might be experts in the area, send an email, and then see if they replied. And when they did, they always gave the best advice that we needed. And this leads on to another point as well. You can't be afraid to ask questions or to ask for help. And when I say ask questions, I don't just mean in the classroom. I mean literally question everything and search for that answer. But if you can't find that answer, then it's your job to find it. So this is our thinking on it, and it's something that I think we all need to do more of.
See, we believe that young people can do absolutely anything, and we know this because we've seen it. We know this because we've lived it. And it's this thinking that's behind our latest project, which is an initiative called Project Zilker. So Project Zilker is an online platform for young innovators or young people with dreams. We're going to break the process down into step-by-step guidelines that you can follow at your own pace, because we know that we have to juggle school and having a life as well. That's very important. So you have to juggle all of that on top of if you want to pursue a project or try and work on achieving one of your goals. You see, we're really passionate about doing this because we don't want to be exceptions to the norm. We want everyone to be out there and doing exactly what we're doing on a daily basis. Everyone is born with so much ability, but not everyone gets the same opportunities. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to level the playing field and expose all young people to the opportunities that they need to succeed.
You know, we said earlier that having a team is really important, so we're creating a network of like-minded people who can support each other along the way. Science and technology can open the doors to so many opportunities, and I'm guessing if you're here, you probably already know that. But let's take, for example, I was fortunate enough to be able to work on a media team at the London International Youth Science Forum. So that allowed me to combine my love for science and my love for communicating ideas and media.
Like Emer said, we both found over the course of this 4-year journey now that we're not just interested in science. And for me, I was also interested in the world of entrepreneurship. So I went to MIT in Boston last summer to study at a program called MIT Launch, which was all about entrepreneurship. And here I met a team of like-minded people who were also passionate about making a change. And we set up our company, PurchaseMate. So basically, we're trying to inspire a movement of socially aware shoppers by giving people information about the corporations and brands that they're buying from simply by just scanning a barcode with your mobile phone. So you don't even have to try to make smart and ethical decisions about what you're buying anymore. It'll literally be at your fingertips.
We are proof that you can combine all your love for science with everything really in your life. Someone who is probably a lot wiser than me one time said that everyone is born a blank canvas. You can paint her whatever way you want. So you should take that with us.
This is, of course, a lot of advice for young people, but it's not just up to young people, it's up to those around us. It's up to society as well to harness the potential that we can see in young people and young people can see in themselves. So now I'm talking to any parents in the audience or teachers or people in industry. If a young person comes to you with an idea, don't shoot them down. You know, don't kind of brush it off. Encourage them to think outside the box with that idea and to break outside the box with that idea. Don't ask, what is it that you did? Ask, what are you doing next?
And in reality, we know that, you open a newspaper, you turn on the TV. There's a lot of horrible things happening in the world at the moment. But we want that when people come with ideas, that we have a positive outlook on them. Sure, we might all know it might not work, but you might as well make people try.
To everyone here today, whether you're a young person or a parent, if you're going to take anything away from what we say, please let it be this. Ordinary people, ordinary young people, can make a massive, monumental difference to the world that we live in today.
We're challenging all of you that when you go home, that you need to start thinking how you can get your peers and how to get younger people to think outside the box, to push the boundaries. And when you're outside that box, to stay outside that box that we happen to be placed in.
A lot of you are the same age as us here today. And I think you can all identify that as young people, we spend a lot of time waiting. Waiting for another day, waiting until we're older, waiting to finish one more season of Netflix, thinking that we're too young to make a change in the world. But that's just not the case. And there are young people who have been there, done that, and bought the t-shirt, so it's time for us all to start following in their footsteps. Take Jack Andreka, for example, a guy in America who, before he could vote, had invented a test for pancreatic cancer, which is significantly more accurate than anything seen today, and it costs only 3 cents to produce. All before he could vote, all before he could legally consume alcohol or do anything like that. So, we still have time.
So, bringing it back to the very beginning, 4 years ago, we found our acorn of an idea that grew into an oak tree. But the thing is, there is a lot more than one acorn in this world, and it's just a matter of going out and finding yours too. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So you mentioned some of the projects you're working on now. How would you like to see them developing in the future and people getting involved with them?
Well, at the moment, I have to pass our final exams, so that's our first priority. And then, like I said, I want to kind of go into communications and stuff, so I'd like to be able to tell more people about science ideas.
Yeah, I think for Project Zilker, we just want young people to start getting involved. There are people out there who want to do it, and there are people out there who want to help. So we're trying to bridge that gap between young people and people who want to help young people, and just get involved because you've no idea where an idea could take you. This idea took us to this stage today, and any idea that you have, in the back of your mind, or any idea that you had whilst eating your breakfast this morning, that could bring you anywhere. So just follow it.
And you've been to some amazing places. You're mentioning MIT. You guys have traveled around the world because of this. What's been your kind of highlight experience?
So all the experiences we've had been great, but the Google Science Fair Prize was really good that we got to go to the Galapagos Islands for 11 days. So we were on the Galapagos Islands exploring all that and being Charles Darwin and stuff, so that was fun, yeah.
We wish you guys all the best in the future.
Thank
you so much.
Do amazing things.
Thank you.
Emer and Ciara. Thank you.